first one of the sessions at 8 a.m. this morning. I know folks will have a lot of questions related to this program about how to gain experience to land the job you want. If you do have questions, career-related questions in general, strongly encourage you to reach out to your career advisor, reach out to the career team. Please make an appointment. So that's what they're there for. Again, the SNH community is here for you. So if you do have general questions, you can post those in the chat, but really I would encourage you to focus on the content being presented and then make an appointment with a career advisor. So we are here to help and support you. All right, a few minutes away from start. All these great LinkedIn URLs. Folks are welcome to connect to me. We're all on LinkedIn. Please, the bigger the network, the better. I think we're well over 280. Is it something like that? I know it's really high as far as the alumni number. Maybe it's, I know it's up in the 200s, right, Megan?
I think we're at approximately 190,000 active learners currently, and then we have many amazing cohorts of graduates, alumni along with that. So we are in the hundreds of thousands for sure for your SNHU family.
All right.
Or your SNHU community would probably be a better way to say that.
Large and extended family. The cousin you never knew, but you have. All right, so we are about 1 minute away from start time. All right, folks, again, let's just kind of get things rolling, respect your time, and we're going to have a good session right now. So my name is Jason Whitney. I am a career advisor here at SNHU. Welcome so much to this session, How to Gain Experience to Land the Job You Want at Career Day 2023. So we will have a session facilitated by our two speakers today, our two experts. And at the end of the session, we will show a slide and make an announcement, and then we will shift into questions and answers. So if you do have a question, you can put that in the chat. So I'm going to begin and advance the slide here and kind of get us going. Let's go back one more. Okay, so before we get started, I do have some important announcements for everybody. So this session is being recorded and there is no obligation to have your camera on or to use the chat to be in the session. You can turn on captions for this session by selecting the More button, those little three dots at the top of your team screen, and then turn on live captions from the drop-down menu. To make the presentation a little bit smoother, all microphones for participants will be muted during the presentation. The chat will be available throughout the session. So again, we encourage you to post your questions about the content being shared in this session, as well as your reflections and comments. We do ask that you be kind and refrain from using any inappropriate language or sharing any offensive content. We are all here to learn and engage with our community, and we do appreciate your cooperation. Please do not photograph, screenshot, or record anyone in attendance. Again, the session is being recorded and will be shared later. Presentation slides may contain clickable links. For those of us who are viewing this presentation on a mobile device, we will include the links in the chat so that you can retrieve them at the end without being taken out of the session. You will see that Teams offers helpful presentation options like changing the written language of the slides or the opportunity to move through them at your own pace. If you move the slides and wish to get back to the slide currently being discussed, please select the red box at the bottom that says Sync to Presenter, and that will not impact anyone else's viewing experience. I should say one little error on my part. We at the moment disabled the language choice slides for the subtitles. Just want to put that out there for folks. Okay, so going on to our next slide. So SNHU and your experience here is important to us. So it's our policy and practice to create inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of the presentation or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the appropriate department. For online students, please contact and connect with the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. For campus students, please contact the Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu.edu or by phone at 603-644-3118. And for staff and faculty joining us today for the session, please contact the Human Resources Office by email at hr@snhu.edu. All right, so now I'd love to present our two speakers today. So the program, as you know, How to Gain Experience to Land the Job You Want, presented by Fern Ruby Redford and Hannah Royce. So Fern Ruby Redford is an internship coordinator on the career team, and she is based in Charleston, South Carolina. Fern Ruby joined the internship team in January of this year and is excited to be approaching her one-year anniversary with Southern New Hampshire University. She has been working in higher ed for the past 7 years in various roles, preparing and supporting students to enter the world of work. Outside of work, you'll find her spending time with her family and friends, exploring Charleston, and enjoying bike rides. She also spends a lot of time listening to TED Talks and LinkedIn learning courses. And Hannah Royce is an internship administrator in the career department and an adjunct instructor in the criminal justice department at SNHU. Hannah has worked in higher education for over 8 years. She is also a global career development facilitator and a certified professional resume writer. Hannah lives in New Hampshire with her spouse and 2 young boys. So without further delay, I will pass the virtual microphone over to Hannah and Fern Ruby for today's session.
Thanks, Jason. And just to verify, can you see why is experience important on the screen? Oh.
I still
see your profiles, Hannah. Were you able to use the control function?
There you go.
All right, looks like I have control now. Sorry about that. So why is experience important? So as a starting point, we'd like to address why it is important to gain experience. Gaining experience is an excellent way to complement and apply what you're learning in your academic program. It can also be very helpful when applying for jobs, as many job postings will list that they are looking for candidates with both education and experience in the field. Gaining experience can help set you apart from other applicants. I will now turn it over to Fern, who will discuss volunteering.
Thank you, Hannah. So I will be going over volunteering. To begin with, what does it mean to volunteer? Volunteering is usually an unpaid experience at a non-profit organization or company. For example, giving your time to help meet the needs of the organization without financial gain. There are many benefits to volunteering. The first benefit is networking. Networking allows you to create meaningful connections and show your desire to work by asking questions and getting to know your other volunteers. The second benefit is gaining experience. If you don't have any or a lot of experience in the field that you are hoping to find a career in, volunteer work is a great way to get your foot in the door and gain hands-on experience. This experience will also be a great addition to your resume. You might be asking, how do I find volunteer opportunities? Think locally of organizations in your area. For example, environmental science students could volunteer at a local national park, sports management students could volunteer at a local YMCA, and healthcare students could think about volunteering at a hospital or local medical clinic. You can also use Volunteer Match to find great opportunities online, and we will be posting the link in the chat for you to explore. I will now pass it back to Hannah, who is going to talk about interning.
Thank you, Fern. So along with volunteering, interning is another great way to gain experience. It's first important to define what an internship is. An internship is going to be an educational work experience where a student gains hands-on experience. The student is supervised and mentored by a qualified site supervisor who has experience in the field. And unlike a volunteer experience where the employer is primarily benefiting, the student should be the primary benefactor of the internship. This means the student should be learning about key business practices common in that industry or field and meeting set learning outcomes rather than only doing administrative work or tasks. Internships could be paid or they may be unpaid. This would be up to the specific employer to decide. If an internship is being pursued for academic credit, it must be related to the student's academic program and needs to be approved through Southern New Hampshire University before the student begins the internship. Now, there are numerous options available for students to complete an internship. If the student meets the eligibility requirements and has room in their program for an internship course, they may be able to complete an internship for academic credit. This means that after the student secures an internship, they would need to work with the internship team to have their internship approved through Southern New Hampshire University and enroll in an internship course. These steps should be completed before the student begins the internship. Students also have the option to complete internships outside of their academic program. This would mean the internship would be simply to gain experience and not be for academic credit or connected to the student's academic program. You can learn more about the different internship options by reviewing the online student internship website if you're an online student and the campus internship website if you're a campus student. So we will post the links in the chat for these specific websites. Completing an internship has numerous benefits. First of all, you can gain hands-on experience related to your program that you can then showcase on your resume. You can also make connections and network with professionals who have experience in your field. While there's no guarantee, some students are able to later secure a job at an organization where they interned. Even if you're not able to obtain a job at that organization, you could ask your site supervisor for your internship to be a reference for you when you're applying for jobs. It's always important to act professionally at an internship so that you can make a positive impression, on that employer. So if you're interested in internships, how do you go about finding one? A great place to start is Handshake. This is our internal job and internship database where employers specifically looking to promote opportunities to Southern New Hampshire University students will share these opportunities on that platform. There are also employer events that students can attend, also within Handshake, and students can look for internship postings that interest them, or they can attend events with employers that they might be interested in interning with. So we have included the link. We're going to put the link specifically for Handshake in the chat for you, as it is a wonderful resource. Now, many students are able to also secure internships through direct outreach. So what this would include is identifying organizations in your area that interest you and directly outreaching them to inquire whether they would consider an intern. So as an example, if you're a public health student, through a Google search, you could find your local public health department and you could look at their website. If they have information explaining how to apply for an internship on their website, you would want to follow those steps. However, if they don't have any information about internships on their website, you could call, email, or go to the organization in person to inquire whether they take interns and share your interest in working with them. If you would like additional guidance on internship searching, online students can reach out to COCE internships at snhu.edu, or campus students can reach out to career development at snhu.edu to be connected with an internship administrator. And we're going to go ahead and post those email addresses in the chat for you as well. I'm going to turn it back over to Fern.
Thank you, Hannah. So I will now be talking about other ways to gain experience, starting with Forage. So Forage is a great tool to gain experience. Forage offers free virtual work experience programs that you can complete in your own time. Even though Forage isn't an internship, it is a great tool for gaining experience and networking with companies. Forage experiences typically take 5 to 7 hours on average, and you can complete as many experiences as you would like. You will earn a certificate that can then be added to your LinkedIn profile, and you can also list it on your resume to make you more marketable. Forage provides specific instructions on how to add an experience to your resume. Companies share out info sessions and events for networking once a student has completed a Forage experience. Here are some examples of companies that have experiences in Forage: Lyft, Red Bull, Lululemon, and Visa. To view a full list, check out the Forage link that we'll be posting in the chat. I will leave you with this fun fact. Did you know that students are 4 times more likely to land a job at a partner company by completing the company's Forage virtual experience program? Another great way to gain experience is through the Heart Challenge. The Heart Challenge is for global campus students, but on-campus students can learn about experiential learning opportunities available for them through faculty, the Career Development Center, and academic advisors. The Heart Challenge allows students the opportunity to gain valuable experience by developing solutions for an organization's critical business problems. During the challenge, students choose a reimbursement focus, a communication focus, or both. For example, past challenges have been with Elliott Health System, Northern Light Health, Spalding Rehabilitation, and Watermark Communities. For more information, check out the link in the chat. Another really great way to gain experience is through joining a club or organization. Firstly, what are student organizations? In a college, clubs and organizations are groups of students with similar interests, beliefs, or goals. For example, Creative Writing Review Club, Communication Club, Outdoors Club, and Book Club. Most of these organizations are formed around areas of study or causes that students may be interested in. Whichever student organization you decide to join, it will probably be helpful both professionally and personally. In the chat, we'll post a link with a full list of clubs and organizations. On this next slide, we have some examples of educational clubs, social clubs, professional organizations, and honor societies offered at Southern New Hampshire University. Joining a group or a club is a great way to gain experience, and it's also an excellent way to network. I will now pass it back to Hannah, who will be doing a quick key takeaway, and then we'll be going to our Q&A.
So thank you so much for joining us today. A few key takeaways that we want you to remember from this presentation are: gaining experience to complement your degree can help set you apart from other job applicants. There are many different ways to gain experience. A few of the options that we discussed today included volunteering, interning, virtual work experiences through Forage, the Heart Challenge, and involvement in student organizations. Don't forget to showcase the experience you gain on your resumes. You'll want employers to see this when you're applying for jobs. Now I'll turn it back over to Jason.
Wow, that was some fantastic information. I'm doing my best because we've got all sorts of great questions in the chat. So thank you, everybody, for all the fantastic questions. So I'm going to start with the ones that were asked first back at the beginning of our program today, and then Hannah and Fern Ruby, will take what they want to respond and share info with. The good news is we have plenty of time to get to your questions. So first one, and this was a theme I think a couple people shared, Fern, Ruby, and Hannah, I would love to have your input here. How do you get experience when you either have little time or you're super busy or you have a family or you're already working? Like, how are the ways that you can kind of work experience into your already busy schedule? And I think you did hit on some of those certainly during the presentation.
That's a great question. So typically if students are very busy, which we know everyone has a lot of things going on in life, so a good way to kind of get involved in a low-key way is joining a professional association. So if you join a professional association, a lot of them can be free. Some of them are paid, so just be aware of that. But for example, I was a natural resources student and I joined an online professional association and listed it on my resume. And then sometimes they offer free webinars, they'll offer conferences online. So it's a great way to network without actually having to do too much work and making it work for your schedule. So you can kind of sign up for those webinars whenever you're free and whenever it's best for you. And then sometimes they will actually have internships or careers posted on those different websites that they have. So I definitely would be sure to kind of check out a list of professional associations that you are interested in that relate to your program of study, and then recommend joining one of those as kind of a way to get more involved and get experience without having to do tons of hours or too much work.
All right, so another great question where folks asked a lot about how would you incorporate life experience into your resume and kind of share that with recruiters.
Well, I would say in this type of instance, I would connect directly to career services to talk about your resume, because they could help you identify what information to include on your resume, how to go about doing that, because I think those conversations are very tailored and specific depending on the learner's individual experience. But I always, encourage learners to think about, not only their professional and work experience on their resume, but also, volunteer experience, professional organizations or groups, clubs, and are all sometimes can be helpful to include on a resume, or even potentially academic projects that you might have done in your program. So I think it is a kind of individualized conversation with that learner in terms of what jobs are they looking for and what experience, whether that's life experience or experience in other ways that they have that they can really showcase on that resume to impress the employers looking at that resume. So I would encourage the individual who asked that question to connect with their career services department to receive some guidance on their resume. We're happy to help with that.
Excellent response. Another question somewhat related, Hannah, to what you just shared. So people have asked, suppose you're teaching yourself a new software product, or you're working on your own projects. Like, is that considered experience for certain employers?
So I think that you can you could certainly have a skills section on your resume where you can emphasize skills that have learned, that you're skilled in. And then also sometimes students may link to a portfolio from their resume to showcase work that they've done. So I think there's definitely ways to tie in those experiences to your resume. And again, as I said before, definitely connect with your career services department for that individualized support and guidance on your resume so they can best help you with that.
Excellent. Another question, when Fern, Ruby, you were talking about student organizations and clubs, somebody asked, do you need to be associated with a particular major to join a club?
You don't, because there are clubs of interest too. So you can actually just join a club that maybe you're interested in and you're not necessarily studying that field. And again, like we said, it's kind of just a great way to network and get yourself out there and meet other people. So you definitely don't have to have it associated with the major that you're studying.
Another question that came in more recently, a student had asked about Forage. Do they have diverse opportunities, or is it focused on particular majors?
That is a great question. So I would definitely be sure to use the link and look at the full list of companies because there is a lot of different opportunities in there. They kind of vary. I will say the ones that I have seen definitely are kind of more business related or marketing, but I definitely would be sure to just check out that full list because they have lots of different opportunities. There might be something in there that you're interested in or even a company that you're really interested in. So I would definitely just look at that list because there's some really great opportunities out there.
Another question that was asked by a learner is job shadowing considered an experience?
I would say job shadowing is an excellent way to gain experience. I think that's really an opportunity for you to learn about the company, learn about the role. So I wouldn't consider it to be a volunteer experience or an internship, but something I would highly encourage. So being able to connect with folks who are working in that field that you may want to be in is super, super helpful, whether that's through an informational interview where you're just asking them questions about their role and how they got into that field, or through actually shadowing them at their job, let's say. I think gaining that experience is really helpful. And as I said, although I wouldn't consider it like a volunteer experience or an internship experience, when you are job shadowing someone, talking to them about how did they get experience to get into this role, I think can be really, really helpful. You can gain so much insight from someone who's actually working in the field that you want to be in and seeing the path that they took to get there. So those type of opportunities, I think, are really key for networking and for you learning about, how you can, what types of things you can do to gain more experience related to that field that interests you.
Excellent. Thank you for that response. We are still getting some different questions are coming in. A lot of them, again, I'll flip it back to Fern and Hannah, are specific to the individual learners. So again, if you have specific questions about experience and incorporating it onto your resume, however that may be, please make an appointment and reach out to your career advisor. You go through and make a few other, just go through here again. Anyone else have other questions related to the content that Fern, Ruby, and Hannah presented? Please put that in the chat as I scroll through. And also, I just want to say it's wonderful to see learners helping learners. Like, people are responding to people's questions, they're making suggestions, they're, oh, here's what I did, you might want to consider this. So again, just a fantastic example of people helping people. So I love the SNHU community. Yes, we will, just kind of talking about the session is recorded, folks, so all the content, including the Q&A session that's being shared, will be part of the final recordings that you can access on the SNHU Career YouTube page. Scrolling through, any other questions? Right, I've got a few specific ones here. So I guess one question or a theme that's coming through is, how do I, where do I start if I'm looking for experience? Is it, do I go to LinkedIn? Do I reach out to somebody? So where Hannah or Fern, Ruby, where would you suggest a student start if they want to learn about those first steps to get more experience?
So I would actually recommend the student, if they're kind of not sure, if they know they want to gain experience, but they're not sure what direction to go in or where to start, especially because, like we talked about today, there's lots of different options and lots of different ways to go about doing that. I would recommend that they reach out to their career department so they can talk to someone one-on-one about, what their specific career goals are, and they can brainstorm with the career advisor they talk with about, okay, how do I go about getting experience for that type of career? What are steps that I can take? So I think that's the best place to start for that individual support, and because it will depend, do you have time in your schedule to make an internship work? Does Forage have some virtual experiences that interest you? Could you join a club or organization that really connects well to the field that really interests you? So I think connecting with career services, if you want to brainstorm with someone about how do you go about starting to gain that experience and where's a good place for you to start, I think is a great strategy for that.
We did get another question just came in. So the question is, when is the earliest time a student can intern? The person shared they're almost done with their first year and they assumed they should wait to intern until their junior year. What are your thoughts on kind of when is it good to get experience?
So that's a great question. I feel like students ask that one on the phone a lot. So there are a few caveats to that. You can actually intern at any point in your SNHU journey. Some internships, I will say, have specific requirements on graduation dates or if there's specific certifications or courses they've wanted you to complete. So just be aware of that. But typically, I would recommend looking for an internship, getting your documents ready with career services like we've mentioned, like your resume, cover letter, any of those professional documents ready as soon as possible so that you are prepared to then begin searching for an internship and applying for internships. I will also say a lot of students, if they have a specific program that might have summer internships, they are typically posted a year in advance. So always be on the lookout if that's kind of, something that you're interested in doing an internship in summer. Just make sure that you're looking kind of 3 to 6 months in advance or a year out if it's something summer specific, but there isn't exactly a set time frame. It's kind of whenever you feel comfortable and want to do an internship, and we'll help you plan that as well.
And I just want to jump in too to share as well. So I don't think this was part of the question, but in case another learner is wondering, there are specific timeframes if you're and requirements or eligibility requirements that have to be met if a student's looking to do an internship for academic credit. So you would want to connect with your academic advisor and career services about that if you're trying to do an internship for academic credit to see if you're eligible and what the specific requirements are around that. But as Fern mentioned, at any point you could do an internship outside of your academic program simply for experience. You'll just want to look and see, what the employer's requirements are around that.
All right, looking for more questions. All right, we have some very specific questions. Again, I would strongly encourage our learners to follow up and speak with your individual career advisor just to get some more support in your career journey wherever you may be. One of the questions that came through, just go back and do a little scrolling here, folks. So the question is, if you are interested in getting an internship, getting some experience, what would you recommend? Is there a way to reach out? Is it LinkedIn, or how would you kind of get connected or take that first step? Like what do you think is a good method?
In terms of gaining, do you want to take this one, Fern?
No, go ahead. I was going to say direct outreach. I feel like you touched on that briefly, so if you want to go, Hannah, that's fine.
Yeah, so I can certainly talk to direct outreach. So a great way if you're wanting to gain experience, maybe it's through an internship or a volunteer or maybe volunteering and trying to gain some experience. A strategy that I often find is really effective is direct outreach. So I spoke to this a bit in the presentation, but basically what that is identifying organizations in your area that you're really interested in, and then reaching out to them directly to see, do they have internship opportunities where you can gain experience, or do they have, you know, an opportunity to volunteer for you to gain experience and network at that organization. So kind of compiling a list of the types of organizations that interest you in your area and reaching out to them directly is a really great way to initially get connected with them and to see what type of opportunities might exist for gaining experience. LinkedIn can also be really great. So LinkedIn can be a great way to identify organizations or professionals that might be doing the type of work that you're ultimately interested in doing. So you can see you know, where they work, what they do, the career path that they took to get there. And then you can also, you know, potentially connect with them, to network with them, and also reach out to their organization, you know, if you're really interested in that organization that they work for, to see if there are any opportunities to volunteer or to intern.
Excellent response. We have a couple questions coming in, and it's about how does one get an internship if you don't have any experience? So I guess maybe Fern, Ruby, or Hannah, like, how would you frame an internship and what employers are looking for versus an entry-level job and candidate? Like, is there a difference? So the question, like, how do you get an internship if you have no experience?
That's a great question, and kind of the different things that we've discussed during this presentation would really help with that. You know, maybe doing volunteer work, getting involved with a club or organization with campus, or joining a professional association where you can network, or even, like Hannah said, with direct outreach and networking with either local employers in your area or people you already know in your network is kind of a great way to gain experience without doing an actual internship per se. And then also, with saying that, if you do join a club or organization that's focused on something you want to do, that's a great way to then meet people who are kind of in that field as well, and you can network with those people, and maybe that opportunity then to gain that experience to then apply for an internship would come up. So definitely kind of think about the things that we've already discussed in the presentation, because I have seen a few questions come in the chat about that, kind of how to get an internship if you don't have any experience. So definitely think about those different ways, again, like volunteer work, professional associations. And again, we can definitely help with that in career services and kind of work one-on-one with you with your unique situation. So definitely reach out and we can definitely help with that.
And this, I think, is just a good question to hear for everyone to get this response. A few people have asked, how do you find out as a learner who your career advisor is? So I don't know if one of you wants to just share that information so everybody can hear it. It's been addressed in the chat, but could get lost in there.
Sure. So I can actually add this to the chat as well, just so that it's easily accessible right at the bottom here. But there are different career offices for online and campus learners. So I would just reach out to, if you're an online student, you know, you can reach out to the email address or the phone number provided for online learners. If you're a campus learner, you can reach out to the email or phone number provided for campus learners so that you can get connected with your right career department, and they can guide you to who would be able to best support you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Again, are there other questions from folks specific to the information that Fern, Ruby, and Hannah shared in regards to different ways to get experience? And thank you, Charles, for referencing the lottery, which I still hope, against hope, maybe something good will happen for all of us. We can all share it. Other questions, folks, for the good of the order? All right, so Nicole asked this question, and then there are many. What would be a good resource for paid internships?
So I would look at, recommend looking at different job boards to see internships that are posted. If it is a paid opportunity, I would say normally the employer will indicate that on the actual internship posting. My favorite and the one that I recommend using would be Handshake. As I mentioned during the presentation, Handshake is specifically for SNHU learners, and employers that post jobs or internships on there want to share those opportunities specifically out to SNHU learners. So I would recommend starting with Handshake. And as I said, if the internship is paid, some are paid, some are unpaid. It's up to the specific employer. If it is paid, I would say normally I see that employers are going to include that right on the posting for you to be aware of.
And I will also add that LinkedIn is a great resource. Handshake is definitely our number one, but my number two is LinkedIn. They have an excellent job at internship board. You can also then go look up the company and learn more about them as well. So just a great tool.
All right. We also have another question just came in. Do you folks have any suggestions, internships, groups, for someone looking to find work outside of the U.S.?
That's an excellent question. If you're looking for work outside the US, I definitely would still kind of use those options, LinkedIn, because obviously it's global and international. Handshake, I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in, but I'm not sure if they have international opportunities on Handshake. So I would recommend maybe using the more general websites like internships.com, like we said, LinkedIn, just because they are global and you can find all those international companies on there. Being from the UK, I know that they, LinkedIn has some really great opportunities in Europe, in England, and all over the place. So I definitely would recommend checking that out. And then if you're kind of struggling with that, maybe get in touch with your career advisor and just let them know that you're really interested in something outside the US, so they can kind of come up with a plan and help you with that as well. Maybe provide some additional resources.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fern. Excellent question, excellent response. All right, so we still have more stuff coming in. I'll just kind of address one of the questions in the chat. People had asked, based on the information about how to get involved in the student club or organization with SNHU, where do I go to get started? So Alyssa was fantastic, and she posted the link to SNHU Connect, which is where all the student clubs and associations are for the online learner. So that is just in the chat. Alyssa just posted that. All right. More resources for internship searches. Okay. Any other questions for the good of the order, folks? Anything else? I love some of the information. The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is actually hiring. I've seen the Oscar Mayer Mobile on the highway. It was a great highlight of my life, but I did not know they were hiring. Maybe I have an encore career in the cards here. So folks, we're getting near time. Again, any specific questions? Well, here's one from Don. How often do you do these career sessions? To my knowledge, I'll let Fern, Ruby, or Hannah take that. How often do we do Career Day?
I believe Career Day is going to typically be once a year, but I would definitely recommend checking out Handshake for other events and opportunities to attend events, maybe put on by SNHU or by a specific employer. So there's often many events that you can attend, but Career Day is typically once a year.
Correct answer, Hannah. Yes, Career Day is generally once a year and will remain that way for the foreseeable future. But there are many, many, many wonderful events hosted by the career teams. So you can check those out on Handshake. That's the best place. Or connect with the Career Services Department, whether you're campus or online, and they can guide you to the, any other information they have about upcoming events.
So another question I think that's really appropriate and really good is this: a learner asked, can you apply experience from maybe one industry or one field to another when you're applying to a job? So I don't know who wants to take that.
I can grab this one. So absolutely. So I would consider that to be transferable skills. And this is something where I would encourage you to reach out to your career department to get connected with a career advisor, so the two of you can talk about this together. What field are you in currently? What field are you looking to go in? And the two of you can talk about the skills that you have and those that might transfer well into this new field, and also discuss how do you emphasize, kind of showcase those transferable skills on your resume.
All right, so we're just about at time. I just want folks to see the link that's here on the page in front of you for additional career events on Handshake. Please check out the link there. As has been talked about, the full recordings of Career Day 2023, as well as past career days, will be available on the SNHU Career YouTube channel after we've concluded today. And Hannah just posted another link there in the chat just to learn about more events. Again, thank you everybody for attending. Just really great to see all the support you're giving each other in the chat and all the great ideas, and for the wonderful interaction and engagement today. Just fantastic.